welcome to this week's episode of Project Mmmk Gotcha. I am your host, Carrie.
And the co-host, Chris.
So, I don't know if any of you guys out there, but we've been, I have been feeling the seasonal depression super hard the past couple of weeks. I don't know if anybody else is feeling that, but the struggle is so real.
I didn't believe it was real before I moved to the Pacific Northwest. I was like, how bad can it be? It's like, oh, it's a little bit of clouds. But then it's just endless cloudiness. It's brutal.
Oh, yeah. It's like another layer of like purgatory in the wintertime. It's just like,
sure.
You'll never see the sun again. So I've had like zero energy to do anything. So we've been on hiatus for the past week just because we're trying to gain our sea legs for this winter. Trying to get our bodies to get back in sync with everything. Or at least I am. So I'm going to start working out again this week. I think that's one of the problems. Because I got injured and haven't been doing it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely the endorphins and movement and adrenaline.
Right. 100, right? Like
definitely helps.
Yeah. And not to mention the numerous amount of booze I've been drinking the past like 3 days.
Yeah, the human, the natural human tendency is to imbibe large amounts of alcohol if you are existing in darkness, which we do.
Yeah, that's why there's a bar every other door in Portland. I don't know if you guys know, but it's kind of our thing. And, yeah.
Like food, beer, dogs.
Yeah. Do you
want
to live inside and never go outside again? You can do that here. You literally never have to see the sun.
Yeah. Do you want to live in a pile of pet hair, craft beer, and very, very well-priced marijuana? Then come to Portland.
Oh, that should be like a candle scent. Scents of Portland. Smells kind of like cat, kind of like dog. Definitely stale beer. And just fried food. Just awesome food. Just like butter.
Yeah.
Just deliciousness.
Butter and kale and bacon.
Yeah.
It's like pretending to be healthy, but organic and local, but it's still bacon.
Yeah, like even though like we have abundant vegan food, it's like junk food vegan. It's like, let's make the craziest concoction and most delicious. But it just so happens to not have animal products in it. But it's still about the decadence, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so I guess we'll start to dive in. This is like a really insane story that I randomly just was like,
it's a local story too.
Yeah, so
right?
I was like, what are like the crimes that like rocked Portland? And so I like kind of did a deep dive on that. And this one came up and I'd never really heard of it because it kind of happened like before my time. This was like in the 80s. But it's still just as relevant and important today. So today we're going to discuss Rochelle Renee, a.k.a. Shelly Shannon, who is a domestic terrorist, to say the least. So a lot of this information I got from Wikipedia, Vice, Portland Mercury, the Washington Post, the New York Times, and prochoice.org, who actually put together a really awesome timeline of Shelly Shannon's arrests and the events that she was arrested for. That was the best timeline I could find out of any of these sources. So shout out to them, prochoice.org. Go ahead and go on and donate, you guys. All right, so Shelly Shannon was born March 31st, 1956 in Beaver Dam, Wisconsin. So I can't really tell the story of Shelly Shannon without explaining the Army of God. Have you heard of this?
I've heard of the name Army of God, but please tell me more.
Okay. So the Army of God, so it was believed that she joined up with these fucking bozos and like, it says, I believe around 1988. So Army of God is a Christian terrorist organization that has engaged in the use of anti-abortion violence in the United States to fight against abortion.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, these guys are nutso. So according to the Department of Justice and the Department of Homeland Security's Joint Terrorism Knowledge Base, you can tell I copied and pasted that clip, The Army of God is an active underground terrorist organization in the United States that was formed in 1982. In addition to numerous property crimes, the group has committed acts of kidnapping, attempted murder, and murder. While sharing
Oh my god. These guys are serious.
This is
I thought they were just burning stuff down or
No, this is like the Christian mafia.
Oh, damn.
Except not really, because they're not even doing it to get any money. They're just doing it to... They're straight up terrorists. Like, they're just doing it to scare people out of using
They're straight up killing people?
Yeah, so we'll get into it. So, while sharing a common ideology and tactics, the group's members claim that they rarely communicate with each other. This is known more formally as a leaderless resistance. The organization forbids those who wish to take action against baby-killing abortionists, that's in quotes, from discussing their plans with anyone in advance. Yeah, fucking right. Okay. The Army of God believes that God has given them permission to murder abortion providers. That includes people that just happen to work at clinics where those same services are offered. After the murder of an abortion provider in Pensacola in 1993, Shannon wrote, so our subject today, she wrote 25 letters to the perpetrator, calling him a hero and a brave soldier and describing her disillusionment with nonviolence. She also traveled to Kentucky to visit John Brockheft. I don't know. I'm sorry, you guys. Brockheft, convicted of firebombing a Cincinnati abortion clinic. So that's the Army of God. Just give you a little background on this little Rough Rider gang she was rolling with.
Oh my god, they're like
OG Bible
yeah, they're like guerrilla, like terrorist cell
warfare.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
Yeah, super fucking gnarly.
Like, how do they communicate? They like do like a dead drop, like a letter under a bridge at midnight, written with like invisible ink. It's like, do they hide like a note in the church organ? Like,
right, because it totally makes sense that they totally don't speak to each other and are just acting totally autonomously, right? That makes so much sense. Clearly they're telling the truth about that, right? So let's get into her crime line. So there was her crime line. Ooh, that was a good one. So unfortunately I couldn't really find more on her background. Not that we really need it in the context of the story. So Shannon was a 37-year-old Oregon homemaker when she boarded a Greyhound bus in her hometown of Grants Pass and went to Oklahoma City. It is there she rented a car and headed to Dr. Tiller's clinic in Wichita. The clinic, Women's Health Services, had been the target of numerous protests and was bombed in 1986 and was the focus of Operation Rescue's 46-day Summer of Mercy campaign in 1991 that resulted in more than 2,600 arrests. So, Shelly Shannon shot Dr.
Wait, 2,600?
Yeah, 2,600 arrests in May 1991. Crazy. That's how,
they took down, the whole Oregon or whatever?
They were just, committing acts of, violence, vandalism, harassment, stuff like that. Protesting, blocking people from going into abortion clinics, physically, holding women back from entering these services.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
so assault, battery,
trespassing, all that. Yeah,
intimidation.
Right. So Shelly Shannon shot Dr. Tiller as he drove out of the clinic parking lot, striking him in both arms. Tiller was injured, but returned to work the next day because he's a badass.
He got shot twice in his arms, which he uses to work, and he came back the next day. Yeah.
Yeah, because he's a fucking OG. This is not his first rodeo. And the reason that the organization was really targeting this guy is because he was running one of the only abortion clinics in the country that performed late stage abortion. So that's why they were zeroing in on this guy.
Wait, can you define that? Is that after a certain time?
Yeah, it's I don't know the exact date, but yeah, it's he would people that other doctors would cut off and be you're too pregnant for me to perform this at this point. He would still do, but I'm sure it all came down to basis and I'm sure there's multiple different reasons for that to happen.
Okay.
Yeah, it could be health related or, be detrimental to the mother. Or there's a lot of different things. Yeah, so sorry about that, guys. We had to just take a quick pause, and I'm still really shitty at editing, so all of your support is great. Thanks for dealing with our really great sound engineering skills.
Which consists of Googling, the great Google.
Yeah, you live and you learn, So where was I? So Shannon was arrested. Oh, wait. Okay. So, she shot the guy in both arms, and then he went back to work the next day. The shooting was the second attack on that doctor in 5 months. In March 1993, Michael Griffin shot a different physician to death outside of a clinic in Pensacola, Florida. So this is like when it's really ramping up. Like, they're literally shooting at people at this point. It's happening all over the country, and they're all like part of this extremist group, pretty much. So Shelly Shannon was arrested in Oklahoma City several hours after shooting Tiller as she tried to return her rental car. She's like, I don't need this anymore. I just did the half-a-day rental, just, attempted my assassination. Now I am on my way. So when she was booked into jail, police found a letter she had written to her daughter describing what she'd done. She said, I'm not denying I shot Tiller, she wrote, but I deny that it was wrong. It was the most holy and most righteous thing I've ever done. I have no regrets. So they found that with her, too. Nice little fucking handwritten confession. What an idiot.
How it's just that level of conviction. It's so weird to see that in, like, the modern world. I kind of get it, like, back in the Middle Ages when everyone was kind of crazy. But nowadays, when you've accessed information, just to be so convinced that
well, keep in mind,
that your murder is correct, that I don't know.
Well, this is also, like, in the Bible Belt in the early 90s. You know what I mean? So, it's getting better. I mean, society's getting better every day, but, I mean, this shit's just crazy. It's so much. So, 5 weeks later, the authorities dug up an assortment of documents in Shannon's backyard. Among the documents were her diary, books, and manuals about bomb making, letters from other anti-activists, and several Army of God manuals. The anonymous author of the Army of God document describes it as a how-to manual of means to disrupt and ultimately destroy Satan's power to kill our children, God's children. Shannon was cited in the manual by going by the name Shaggy West. That's like her.
Of all the names you could pick.
She picked Shaggy West.
Shaggy West.
Dude, that's super mafia name for the shit.
What was their defense during crime? Like, wasn't me. I
guess to
that one didn't really hit.
Wear bell bottoms and run really fast with a cloud behind her.
Yeah.
She's like, gotta go. In her house, investigators discovered on Shannon's computer files describing clinic arsons and acid attacks which she had committed. So
whoa, I'm sorry to interject. Acid, like throwing acid at people, attacks. Like corrosive acid?
Yeah.
Like at people's faces? Like,
I mean, on people. I forgot what the specific name of the acid was. It was like a specific compound.
Okay.
But yeah. So she's been ramping up. So she's been like, she started like getting busted for like, trespassing, stuff like that. And then like you can see through her crime line. Again, if you go to prochoice.org, they have a great timeline of her arrests. You can see how she's like spiraling. Like it's getting more and more and more extreme, the stuff that she's trying to pull off. So in July 1994, less than a year after Shannon shot Tiller, Florida anti-abortion activist Paul Hill killed an abortion doctor and his bodyguard outside of another Pensacola clinic. Hill had attended Shannon's trial in Wichita and held news conferences in the courthouse to defend her actions. So, like, not only is she doing, like, all this stuff, but she's, like, an active participant in this organized, I don't know if you call it organized crime or just, like, a terrorist group. But yeah, so she's like putting out
There are a lot of
projects.
similarities between the two.
And she's reaching out to people. She's teaching them how to create bombs and how to get away with arson and just all kinds of crazy shit. So let's fast forward to her trial.
Oh my God, it's like Terror University. It's like the University of Phoenix Online for terrorism.
Legit for Christian extremists.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's fast forward to the trial. So she finally gets her big arrest after shooting the dude in the arm twice, the guy that went back to work the next day. So while on trial for Tiller's attempted murder, Shannon testified that there was nothing immoral about trying to kill the doctor. After the shooting, the police found a letter in Shannon's car in which she described her murder attempt as holy, most righteous thing she's ever done. The jurors only needed an hour to convict her of attempted murder. They weren't buying it.
Yeah, pretty clear cut there, Shaggy.
Buying it. Not only that, but just like her blatant, like, unremorse. So, like, a quick sidebar. Her daughter, whose name is Angela Shannon, she was prosecuted for sending a death threat in 1993 to George Ward, a Milwaukee doctor who performed abortions. The letter arrived on March 3rd, 1993, a week before the murder of David Gunn. The elder Shannon attempted to take the blame for the death threat, but in view of Angela's fingerprints... Okay, so, like, the mom tries to take the blame for this, right? For the daughter, to, like, protect the daughter.
Okay.
But they found the daughter's fingerprints all over the letter. And so she was convicted and sentenced to 46 months incarceration in 1997. So her daughter, like, this is a family thing. Like, she's clearly, like, passing this down to other generations. She's sharing information with other extremists.
Oh, it's a family tradition of crime, intimidation, and just being batshit crazy.
I wonder if they hang out with the Westboro Baptist Church people. I feel like they're on that level. Army of God. They have to be, right?
Probably, yeah. I mean, they probably have Thanksgiving together or whatever, you know.
They have company picnic softball tournaments. It's like softball tournaments. Army of God versus Westboro Baptist Church.
Oh,
what do you think their softball team names would be? Satan's...
Satan Sluggers.
Yeah, like, Satan Slayers.
Yeah.
That would actually be a sick name for a band.
Yeah,
Satan Slayer. It's pretty dope. All right. Anyway. So, sorry, that was a little tangent. So let's jump to the sentencing. So on June 1995, Shannon pled guilty to setting fires at several abortion clinics in Oregon, California, and Nevada. She had been indicted by federal grand juries on 30 counts in connections with fire and butyric, that's the name of the acid, butyric acid attacks in 9 clinics. Charges included arson, interfering with commerce by force, interstate travel in aid of racketeering.
Oh.
Yeah. And on September 9th of 1995, the U.S. Federal District Court Judge James A. Redden sentenced Shannon to 20 years in prison, a substantial upward departure from sentencing guidelines. In sentencing, Redden called her a terrorist. He sided with prosecutors who contended that Shannon was a threat, even from behind bars. The federal sentence was set to begin only after the completion of her 11-year state incarceration for shooting Tiller. So this is like, they're racking up all the other stuff on her. So
okay.
So here's an article from the day that she was convicted. This is a New York Times article. Woman gets 20 years sentence in attacks on abortion clinics. And it says that the article is by Reuters, which is, I thought was like a different media outlet. But
Reuters is like an aggregation outlet, aren't they?
I don't know, but that's sorry, they didn't put the specific person. That's all they put. So a federal judge today sentenced a woman who opposes abortion to 20 years in prison, labeling her a terrorist for firebomb attacks on women's clinics in 3 states. The woman, Shelly Shannon, 39, was ordered to begin. Sorry. Oh my God, I have to show you a picture of this woman too. She's like the most like late 80s mom ever, like big glasses, glasses, big curly hair, like little shit. Cross, like sweaters and a fucking cross on. Yeah, that bitch.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
it's terrifying.
I know, seriously. Like she's got that crazy look in her eye too. I'll show you. So the woman, Shelly Shannon, 39, was ordered to begin serving the sentence after she completes the remaining 7 years of a 10-year term in Kansas for shooting and wounding a doctor outside an abortion clinic in Wichita in 1993. Judge James Redden of the Federal District Court went beyond the normal sentencing guidelines in a meeting out punishment for Miss Shannon, who pled guilty to charges of attacking 6 clinics in California, Nevada, and Oregon. Judge Redden said, "Though I loathe to call anyone a terrorist, you are a terrorist." Miss Shannon showed...
That's what the judge said? Like, straight up to her face? Like,
yeah, in court.
You, ma'am, are a goddamn terrorist.
Yep.
Wow.
So, Shannon showed no reaction to the sentence. Earlier, her weeping husband and 2 teenage children had taken the witness stand to ask for mercy. Prosecutors contended that Miss Shannon, a member of a loosely organized anti-abortion group called the Army of God, continued to pose a threat even from prison. The defendant has engaged in a long pattern of terrorist activity, said Stephen Pfeiffer, an assistant United States attorney. Her purpose is not only to destroy property, but to instill fear in people. I can't talk. But to instill fear in people. That's it.
That's literally the definition of terrorism.
Terrorist, exactly.
Yeah, that's like...
And this is like crazy as shit, because you know if this shit would have happened after 9/11, like she'd be in fucking like Guantanamo Bay. Like this shit would have never...
Yeah, you can't be like throwing around firebombs.
Firebombs.
Like
acid.
firebombs.
Like that's some
like
jihad
corrosive
shit.
acid.
Yeah, fuck. Like crazy.
That's like banned by the Geneva Conventions. Even in wartime, that shit is frowned upon.
Yeah, exactly. This bitch would be in Guantanamo Bay. Like we wouldn't even be having this conversation. But this was right after the satanic panic in the 80s, and the United States was a lot more conservative, and
this was like
even though there should be a separation of church and state, it was clearly more conservative leaning back then.
Oh yeah, well you had Reaganomics, and then also people were like religious because the goddamn godless commies. We were trying to differentiate from those darn Reds who were godless.
That's the other softball team name. Godless commies.
Godless commies.
Slammers and godless commies. All right, so during her time, in court papers, prosecutors say Miss Shannon inspired Paul Hill, who traveled to Kansas, to meet her in prison before he shot and killed 2 people last year outside of a clinic in Pensacola, Florida. So, like, that's the thing. It's like she was, like, literally up training these little, like, terrorist wannabes. And those people went on to shoot 2 people, like, at least 1 person. So we know she's caused at least 3 murders.
It's like a multi-level marketing like scam for terrorists.
Like a pyramid Christian group. Oh,
like,
God, it's terrifying.
It's like Amway with firebombs.
And if you buy this particular bottle, it really causes the shrapnel effect that you really want.
It's like, so we have a bulk discount right now. You buy 10 gallons of corrosive acid, you get 1 gallon free.
Yeah. Oh my God, Mary Kay for holy warriors. So during her time in prison, while incarcerated in Lansing, Kansas, Shannon signed the Army of God statement in support of the actions of Paul Jennings Hill, identifying herself as a prisoner of Christ. So even after she's in jail for all this shit, like she clearly is not like understanding the weight of her actions. She's signing their like shit. She's like creating more propaganda from the inside. She's communicating with other people. She's training up these other... it's so freaking crazy. So Portland Mercury reports that she even advised other members on how to carry out attacks while in jail. Like that, like...
Is that an additional crime? I feel like...
I don't know.
Wait, is she already in jail for life at this point?
No, she only got 20 years. Remember? That was her sentence. She had to finish serving her state sentence, which was like, I think she got convicted at like 11 years, but she only had to serve like 7 or something. Because usually like whatever sentence you get, you serve half. So like if you're sentenced to 20 years, like most people will serve 10 or whatever.
Because of good behavior or whatever.
Yeah, but because she had so many other charges, so she was indicted at the state level and federal level because of the interstate of her crimes.
Okay.
Yeah. So guess what? Shelly Shannon was released from prison.
She's like Ricky Bobby. She has 2 first names.
Yeah, November 2018. She was released. A terrorist leader who was organizing and planning attacks from prison was released from prison in November.
The firebomber is like walking around today, enjoying her local cuisine and craft beers.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
So this is a Kansas City.
What is she doing right now? Where is she?
Okay, so I'm going to get into it.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. So the Kansas City Star, this is a Kansas City Star article from either when she was released or right before. So this is what they said. This is by Jewel. Oh my God, I cannot talk today, you guys. And when I mean it has been a real struggle.
How now, brown cow?
It has been a real struggle. Okay. So this is by Judy L. Thomas. Abortion clinics on edge after woman who shot Kansas doctor is released from prison. Abortion clinics across the country were taking extra precautions Wednesday after the anti-abortion activist who shot Wichita physician George Tiller in 1993 and committed a string of clinic attacks in several states was released from prison. Shelly Shannon, the Oregon woman whose actions once triggered a federal investigation into the possible existence of a national conspiracy of anti-abortion terrorists, had been living in a halfway house in Portland, Oregon since May. She has spent 25 years in custody. We're extremely concerned, said Catherine Spiller, executive director of the Feminist Majority Foundation. We are alerting providers, briefing them, and making sure they have enough security precautions in place. We know her by her own writings and writings of those who went on to commit violence, that this is a woman who inspired at least 3 murders. Yeah. Yeah,
definitely didn't get reformed at all.
Nope. Shannon's release was confirmed Wednesday by the U.S. Bureau of Prisons. She will be on supervised release for 3 years, but the conditions of her release are not public information, the Bureau said. She's going on probation, said the Reverend Donald Spitz, an anti-abortion activist who has remained in regular contact with Shannon. She said the conditions of her release are going to be very strict. Spitz, leader of Pro-Life Virginia and sponsor of the Army of God website, which supports those who have committed violence against abortion clinics and doctors, said the fears of abortion rights advocates are unfounded. I don't think she'll be doing anything violent, he said. Of course, no one knows, but I'd be very surprised. Spitz said he had
What planet is he living on?
Because he wants her out. That's like his own girl. He's about it. He's like, hell yeah. Spitz said he had a hour-long phone conversation with Shannon on Monday. He said she's upbeat. She's glad to be getting out. She's going to church again.
Upbeat? That's the first word, the first adjective you think of?
She's just doing everything, everyday things, is what he said.
She is happy to be baking.
So she's going to church.
And knitting.
So she's going to hang out with her extremist buddies again. Like, it just sounds like she's taking a real
there's going to be like making, fake pipe bombs out of paper mache, decorating them.
She actually opened an Etsy store, okay? She's selling her homemade bombs.
Yeah. But they're cute homemade bombs.
But they're really cute, you guys. They come in mason jars. God damn it.
Yeah.
He said Shannon told him she will likely be prohibited from communicating with anti-abortion extremists for some time. It's a very common thing that they do that, Spitz said. So I won't be able to speak to her again once she leaves the halfway house for 2.5 years. I don't know how closely they monitor that, but she's not going to take any chances. She's not going to contact anybody. Sure. Okay. Sorry, that was my input.
All right.
Spitz said that he had no details on Shannon's plans. She'll probably be getting her own place to live and looking for a job. Shannon, now 62, was sentenced to 11 years in prison for shooting and wounding Tiller, 20 years for... She got double the time as for shooting somebody for doing fire bombings and acid attacks in clinics in California, Oregon, and Nevada. Like, don't you think that shooting somebody would be more than 11 years?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess because he didn't.
He did attempted murder. It's like...
So he did eventually get killed by another anti-abortion person who she was grooming. So, like, she shot him twice, didn't kill him. And then the person that went on to eventually assassinate him was one of her grooming.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
She's like a literal villain from a movie.
She's like a Christian mob boss.
Yeah.
She's like the Joker for Christian warriors. It's insane.
She's like Tony Soprano in like a fucking like Chris Sunday's
in a
best.
fucking sweater.
Like, yeah.
In a goddamn sweater and cross. Yeah. Goddamn rollers in her hair. So Spitz, blah, blah, blah. She was looking for a job. Shannon, now 62, was sentenced to blah, blah, blah. We heard that. Okay. The former assistant U.S. attorney who prosecuted Shannon also has concerns about her being released. She's completely unrehabilitated and totally incorrigible, said Stephen Pfeiffer, a lead prosecutor on Shannon's federal case in Portland in 1995. She has the same mentality and goals as she had when she was convicted. She may do something violent herself, he said, but that's not as likely as her counseling and advising other people to do it. That's her track record. That's why stringent conditions will be placed on her during her probation period, he said. The probation office is going to be very careful in terms of her associates and naming people that she specifically cannot associate with, he said. I'm sure she'll have strict supervision. They were very concerned. Yeah, no doubt. News of Shannon's release has clinic operators on edge. In addition to showing no remorse for her actions, they say Shannon has been visited in prison by several activists who believe that killing abortion doctors is an act of justifiable homicide. Clinic supporters also note that Tiller, a regular target of anti-abortion protesters, because he was one of a handful of doctors in the country who performed late-term abortions. He was shot to death in 2009 by a Kansas City area anti-abortion extremist, Scott Roeder, who had admired Shannon and visited her many times in prison. Good stuff.
What the shit?
Yeah, it's pretty gnarly.
I feel like...
okay, here's another thing. Is like, when people go into prison, aren't all of your communications monitored? Like, why was she allowed to do... Like, your phone conversations are recorded. Your letters are read. Like, they open your mail. Like, why was she able to operate from... I guess...
Maybe it was a flash drive and a cake or something. I don't know.
Well, I think it might be, like, the religious aspect.
Oh,
because they can't, like,
prevent
religion.
Oh, this is like official blah, blah, blah mail.
Yeah, something like that. So, among Shannon's other prison visitors in recent years was Kansas City area activist Regina Dinwiddie, who made headlines in 1995 when a federal judge ordered her to stop using a bullhorn within 500 feet of any abortion clinic. Dinwiddie attended Roeder's murder trial and spoke on his behalf at his sentencing, telling the court that Scott loved our country and he knew the terror of our Lord regarding the shedding of innocent blood. Another of Shannon's visitors while she was in prison was David Leach, an activist from Des Moines, Iowa, and another advocate of the justifiable homicide position. Leach, speaking to the Star on Tuesday as he worked at an Iowa polling booth, said he visited Shannon once a year when she was incarcerated at the Wasena Federal Corrections Facility in Minnesota.
I feel like having that alone is conspiracy to commit murder. Right. If you're saying it's okay to kill these people and you're trying to get other people to kill these people, it sounds like...
Like, why was she able to operate from prison? Legal. This is insane. So, some prison visits for Shannon supporters, he said, were funded by a doctor in Ohio who opposes abortion. So this doctor in Ohio was like, hey... I'll pay for you guys to go to the Mecca, go to the jail to talk to somebody that we clearly should be listening to. He gave a bunch of money to allow several of us to go and visit her, Leach said. Leach said that he last spoke to Shannon about a month ago. He said the concerns that she might commit violence again were silly, he added. Well, I guess anything's possible with human beings, though. Really? Okay. But I can't imagine Shelly, after all this time, he said, they'll be watching her pretty closely. So will clinic operators. Shelly Shannon's release absolutely makes us nervous, said Catherine H. Ragsdale, interim president and CEO of National Abortion Federation. She's not only committed multiple acts of violence herself, but encourages others. Ragsdale said that clinics have seen a spike in violence and disruption in services in the past year. Trespassing has more than tripled, threats of harm have nearly doubled, and incidents of obstruction rose from 580 in 2016 to more than 1,700 in 2017, she said.
In the Portland metro area?
I think this is national statistics.
Oh, national? Okay.
They're testing the waters to check and see what they can get away with, and that emboldens the Shelly Shannon supporters of the world. Julie Burkhart, a former employee of Tiller, so the doctor that was shot, FYI, and the founder and CEO of Trust Women Foundation. Oh, fun fact about the Dr. Tiller that was shot and then eventually assassinated when he was shot at a different time. He's the one that coined that term, trust all women. Have you ever heard that? It's like a pretty common phrase in like feminism and stuff. Trust all women. He coined that phrase. Sure. So yeah, that's why they opened the Trust Women Foundation, like in him.
Like in his honor.
In his memory. Honor. Okay, so that operates the Trust Women Wichita Clinic as well as clinics in Oklahoma City, Seattle, and Shannon's release raises deep concerns. She tried to murder my boss, Burkhart said, and I absolutely do not believe under any circumstances that Shelly Shannon is reformed and is still as dangerous as she was in August of 1993. Abortionists are killed because they are serial murders of innocent children who must be stopped, and they will continue to be stopped. This is what Shannon wrote in an email to Leach, the Iowa anti-abortion activist. May God bless Scott for his faithfulness and brave actions and stand. So the guy that fucking shot somebody. Talk like that has abortion rights advocates convinced that Shannon will continue to encourage others to commit violence against doctors now that she's out of prison. Why would she follow the restrictions of her release when she so flagrantly violated the law and attempt to commit murder before? Spiller said, even from prison, she kept inciting more violence. And that is the story of Shelly Shannon.
Well, that's kind of not the end, because apparently there's another chapter. Yeah.
Well, now she's our neighbor. Legitimately. This lady is walking amongst us.
I kind of want to have like a crowd-funded Kickstarter to hire like a private investigator to like tail her and like see what she's doing, or like shoot her with a dart that has like a GPS tracker. Wait, no, that's legal.
Yeah, I don't think we can do that. But, yeah. What if we just, like, go to brunch next weekend, and she's, like, our waiter. She's just like, welcome to Holman's. My name's Shelly. I'm here to help you.
What if she has her own podcast? Like, she got out.
Dude. Yeah. I bet you anything those Army of God fucks have their own podcast.
Yeah.
I bet you anything.
Oh, my God. What if they're listening right now?
She can't do that. Like, she couldn't publicly post stuff because she's still under the 3 years supervised. So she's essentially being treated like a gang member. Like when you get out of jail and part of your probation as a gang member is you can't associate with your old associates. That's pretty much the same guidelines they've put on her because she's a fucking gangster.
Yeah, well, I mean, in person, how are they going to stop her from like, any medium of communication? There's Telegram, WhatsApp,
Yeah,
like all these encrypted chat programs.
Like, literally most of the quotes were like, well, we don't think she's going to do anything, but they don't know how closely they want.
Yeah.
It's like, of course she's going to push the fucking boundary. She was organizing hits from prison. Like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, you guys. This one was a little bit of a bummer. But I was just so mind blown that this woman is living in my city.
That's really unsettling. Yeah, she's not reformed at all. She's batshit crazy. She's really good at influencing people. I mean, there's not a lot of mindshare for conservative Christian belief in the Portland metro, but...
Yeah, but we get all the fucking crazies that come down from the foothills and shit, like the people that are, like, downtown. There's a preacher downtown.
Oh, I've seen him. I've seen him.
And then there was one single protester at... the Pride Parade. When I was skating in the Pride Parade, there was one protester and he was just surrounded by bears that were just talking shit.
I almost respect the guy going out there by himself.
I did too. I was like, you are bold, sir. Like, he's in a sea of rainbow. And he's like, you all are going to hell. I'm like, buddy, you're really about to
you're surrounded by ferocious unicorns right now.
I just wanted like one of the crazy like homeless like cracked out people to attack them because like they usually just like put them in detox and let them like leave after a couple hours. Just like one homeless dude just like go ape shit on them. throw some poo at him or something. Just really troll the shit out of him.
Oh, man.
I know. It's really crazy. Like, I think because this area is so liberal, that's what...
Yeah, no, it's why the Proud Boys come down. You know, it gets some media...
How crazy is that
response?
The head or the creator of Proud Boys also, like, the vice president
Joey Gibson?
Vice. Yeah. He's, like, one of the dudes that started...
No, not Joey Gibson. It was, like, the original founder...
That's so crazy, though.
But like
you don't think
he started it as a joke, from what I understand, and then he left it. He left the organization when it started actually getting traction.
You can't leave a dumpster fire burning outside and then just be totally shocked when the neighborhood gets burned down. Like, you fucking idiot. Ugh. Anyway, don't get me started on the Proud Boys. If we have Proud Boy listeners, again, fuck yourself. Okay?
This has been a controversial episode.
Yeah, I mean, everybody has is entitled to their opinion, but this is crazy. Not acts of violence. We're not about violence, you guys. Okay? Let's be nice to each other.
Yeah, I'd be like, no matter what your opinion or beliefs, if you start thinking about killing people, like adults, human beings that have like families and like
go
friends
to the doctor
and stuff,
immediately.
like, yeah.
Seek help.
There's probably another alternative path than killing another human being. Yeah. Usually.
Totally. All right, you guys. Well, that's this week's episode. Please feel free to reach out via whatever social platform you prefer. Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook. And send us in some suggestions. Send us your weird stories. Send us some topics. I've got a good little stash of topics people have been sending me. But I always want more. So send those in. And anything else you want to go over?
Oh, I already stated the lesson of the episode. Don't kill people.
Don't kill people, you guys. And goodbye.